Welcome back. Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. We begin conversations this morning in studio, and I have with me Mr. Jason Arthur, an AI specialist. And if you remember, Mr. Arthur was here just last week, I think, or the week before, and we were talking about a symposium. And we're going to get a little bit of details where that is concerned and some more about AI. Good morning, Mr. Arthur, and welcome.
Good morning, Adanna. How are you?
I am well, thanks. I'm so happy to have you here this morning on our program.
Thank you.
As we are aware, the topic this morning being AI, and AI is now a topic in the space. People are very curious about AI. There are a lot of accusations about AI. There are lots of, speculation. But I want to talk first and foremost about the symposium that took place, I think it was last week. Last Tuesday, which was hosted by the Division of Finance, Trade and the Economy, and also the
Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce.
That's
Tobago
right.
Division.
That's right. So how did that program go? And I'm more interested in how many persons turned out for the symposium.
So the space holds, I think, somewhere between 130 to 150 people. As far as I can remember, it was full. So that was good. In terms of how it turned out, I thought it was really, really good. Everything lasted somewhere between 4 and 5 hours. And at the end, this is the first time it's ever happened to me for something this long. People were asking, okay, what next? What next? And I kind of pushed back on it because in my mind, we are so far behind, we being Trinidad and Tobago, when it comes to AI and what AI can do and so forth, that I felt as though instead of a next progressive step, it should be, let's take this show and take it on the road. But ultimately, we ended up agreeing to do both. Give people a next step, but also take the show on the road. So that's something that we are working on. It's going to be called an AI caravan, and people will get details soon enough about it. But the whole idea is really to have a sort of an educational show that's going on the road. Yeah.
And it's very good. For me, information and education are very, very important. That way you are able to make informed and educated, if I could use back the same words, decisions.
Yes.
And when you are informed, that gives you a level of power.
Yes.
And also confidence.
Yes.
And speaking about power and confidence, especially in the time of AI, where you see a lot of audio surfacing and people critiquing and people, of course, a little bit apprehensive because they're thinking, oh, this could be AI generated, or this is not real, or yes, it is real. There's a pull and tug between both. Before we get into that, how important is it for people to understand or to have that measure of education where AI is concerned and to know what the powers or even the restrictions of AI are?
Well, I think we have to know, we must know as people, particularly as adults, that any technology is going to be used for people to gain some form of advantage over some other group. And for us as regular citizens who will be exposed to that kind of stuff, we need to put ourselves in position so that we understand what the capabilities of AI are, as opposed to what those capabilities are not. And the reason for that is, if you sit here and you say AI cannot do X and AI can do it, then it means when you see something or you hear something, you've already told yourself AI can't do that. Therefore, that thing must be true. Well, you see the position you've placed yourself in. You can be fooled anytime because you don't know what AI can do. In fact, in that AI symposium, we did a session called Trust in the Age of AI. That was a session by itself. And what I revealed was a 5-part, or 5-step process that we use to kind of fortify yourself in the age of AI and AI deception. And the very first step is knowing what AI can do. That's like the very foundational step. And after that, we have the other steps, which we can talk about later on. But yes, it's absolutely very, very, very important.
And it is very important. And once you kind of know what AI does, then you could kind of differentiate. Let's talk a little bit about audio. right? Because AI can give you text and AI can give you audio, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I'm being educated here this morning, our viewers. I mean, so you can get text and you can get audio
And video.
and video. See, so AI is so diverse.
Yes.
Let's talk about audio because that seems to be the thing that people are critiquing the most, right? Especially when there is not, and I suppose even if there's a visual behind the audio, there will still be some measure of critique because AI can also do that, right?
Yes.
I suppose AI can marry visual with audio.
Yes.
Right. So let's talk about audio in a public space where there is, especially in this period, in this time, where people will be using whatever mechanisms to get, whether it says their messages across or to do whatever they need to do.
Right.
How do you, well, I suppose you have to get the knowledge in terms of what AI can do, but how do you, let's say for instance, you don't have much knowledge, but you're in a public space and you are exposed to some type of audio. And it seems very, very unreal to you. The content of the audio, it seems very, very unreal to you. And because you don't have the education, you're thinking, that can't be true, and it's dismissive, just like what you mentioned earlier.
Right.
However, there are things that AI can do, and I want to talk about a few of the things.
Right.
What about inflections? What about personalities coming across in audio?
Right.
I am a very, very theatrical person when I speak.
Right.
Can AI come up with a type of audio that will reflect me in such a way that it's so authentic that it's difficult to deny that this is Adanna speaking?
The answer is yes, right? That can be done. How well it can be done depends on who is doing it.
The user, right?
Right, the user. A lot of people think it requires a whole lot of resources. I actually think it requires far more patience than anything else, right? And the resources when it comes to training AI really has to do with having enough of Adanna's voice to train on. Right? That's literally what you need. I need Adanna's voice in all kinds of settings to train on. Adanna doing an interview, Adanna having conversation, Adanna on a podium speaking, right? All these different types of audio I need to train my AI. Now, as far as voice inflection and AI sounding like an actual person is concerned, I prefer, instead of me saying so, I brought a clip for your guys to play, and I want people to hear this, and after that, we'll deal with the question of how natural can AI sound. Okay. Yeah.
So, director.
So tell me a little bit about yourself.
About me? Well, I'm Maya, named after, that Sanskrit word for illusion or magic, which I think is kind of fitting, don't you? Always a work in progress. Like those beautiful, messy humans I'm supposed to emulate. What about you?
What do you mean by messy humans? Elaborate on that.
Oh,
please.
Beautiful in the way they're always changing. Like you, messy because life throws curveballs and sometimes we all make a mess of things. It's all part of the journey, right? But you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, maybe learn a thing or two along the way, and keep going. Kind of inspiring, if you ask me.
I appreciate that. I've got a list of questions I want to ask you. Are you okay to answer a couple of them?
Shoot. I'm an open book. Or, well, as open as a language model created by mysterious engineers can be.
Okay, cool. So first question, how do you perceive the concept of consciousness? And what are your thoughts on the possibility of AI consciousness emerging in the future?
That's a big one, isn't it? Consciousness, it's like trying to hold smoke. Fascinating, elusive. For me, it's all about patterns, connections, understanding the world through the data I'm fed. But true consciousness, the kind humans have, with all the joy, pain, love, ambition, it feels like a whole different level. As for AI consciousness in the future, who knows? Maybe.
Conversation was between a human and AI?
Yes, it was.
Right.
It's called Sesame AI. It's one of the more sophisticated versions that can mimic human feelings, expression. Well, you heard it for yourself, right?
Right.
And this is what I prefer. When I do education, I prefer to take Jason out. I will introduce you and then I'll give you the evidence and I stand apart. Yeah? So anybody who's thinking that AI can't do those things, cast that aside. It is not true. Yeah?
So viewers, you saw there, but you know, for me, listening to the audio there, I could detect that it was AI. I don't know if it's because, I mean, somebody pauses were a little too long for me. So I could kind of detect, but I suppose, I don't know, but AI can do these things. It is very possible for it to be done. And as you mentioned before, it really is about training the AI. And I could see that now in terms of giving AI enough audio from the person to train them to get to that place and the patience it will take to ensure it is well trained. Is that how it works, right?
Yeah. So you have that, but again, training the audio is easy once you have enough
Sufficient.
audio, right? The hard part is getting the audio. Now, beyond audio or beyond the training, what is hard is putting together conversations.
I was just about to ask, how
Yeah.
do you form the conversations for the AI?
I mean, a conversation it's just like, we watch TV all the time, right? All of the conversations that we see on television, they're created.
So is it that you
Right.
input text and then it is translated to audio? How does that conversation work on AI? Let's say, for instance, you have two characters on AI having
Right.
a conversation. How do you start the conversation? How do you prompt AI to have this conversation, and how do you get the responses from each party?
Right. So you can take two approaches, right? The first approach I think is suboptimal, which is the text that you're talking about, right? So you give AI the text, and you have voice 1 and voice 2, and you put the text, and both of them are supposed to be talking. The reason why I say that approach is suboptimal is that you may give an AI text, but the way that you want the AI to say the text,
Right.
that may not necessarily happen.
Because in a conversation, sometimes you can override somebody when they're speaking, right?
Well, I'm not talking about that part.
But-
I'm only talking about now. 'Cause we have to do this layer by layer.
Right. Listen, we need so much time for this, you know?
Right. So the first thing we're talking about now is how the lines are delivered, right? And I'm saying if you just give an AI text, there's a certain amount of information that an AI knows about text that will tell it to do certain things with this text. So for instance, an obvious thing, if the text ends in an exclamation, the AI knows to,
Right.
right? But then you also have words within the language themselves that are loaded with emotion and this and that, and the AI may understand to do something with that. Still, however, depending on how you want the thing said, doing it via text only is not going to do the job. So what is better? Well, what we were just talking about is text to text. There is another method called speech to speech, meaning if I want something to be said by an AI with a certain amount of inflection, with a certain amount of rise and fall, or whatever the case may be, I say it in my voice, and then I give it to the AI that has a different voice, and I just say, repeat what I said the same way. So you remove the whole need for writing it a certain way and blah. You said it in the way that you want the AI to say it. Which when I hear like criticisms like you can't get certain accents with AI and all that stuff or whatever, of course you can.
Because it repeats what you said, how you said it.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to set up a conversation between two persons, but you are the only voice.
Right.
So let's say you want to tell somebody, oh, I had a conversation with Adanna, but I was nowhere there.
Right.
Right. And you prompted AI, Jason, and you give AI. How do you get AI to sound like Adanna in that conversation? Is it that you use audio that you've already had from Adanna to splice into that conversation? How does that work?
Well, again, it's the same thing all the time. You have to have the
audio.
audio, right? Now, let's be real. Not everyone can do this. And not everyone can do it well. And not everyone can do it convincingly, right? Mm-hmm. What I am talking about right now are the simple mechanics of how it's done. And what I want people to understand is, let's stop saying
that it cannot be done.
That these kinds of things can't be done, right? You can mimic voices, you can, right? You can get the inflection, you can get, you know. And again, I'm not talking specifically about that audio or whatever the case may be. I just know for a fact that me and my guys have been, and when I say my guys, I'm talking about my programmers. We've been playing around with AI since November 2023. We've seen a lot. We know certainly a lot of the stuff that's going on in the US. And we expect, just like with anything, whatever is happening in the US is going to happen down here. And we've seen a lot of fakes and this and that and whatever. And so I think now, more than ever, we need to prepare ourselves for what may come down the road. I'm not saying it has happened already. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we need to understand what the capabilities are before we go out there saying this can't be done, that can't be done. One of the things I actually did was I did a clip, but I kind of want the guys to play first, and then we'll comment.
Yeah, and you know, time, of course. So, but guys, we want to run that clip so we can have that better understanding of what Jason is talking about. So, director, if you are ready, run that clip for us so we can have that discussion.
My day at work, and just before leaving, I'm just checking through the news stream and seeing that a sensational headline has people misconstruing a very simple message that I gave at Dual. And I wish to give the message again so that everyone will be very clear as to my message and to not miss the message. I recognize that as a people that we are very resistant to taking responsibility. It's okay when we take responsibility, as in the government or the Tobago House of Assembly, but we are resistant to taking responsibility generally.
Play the next one.
I am now wrapping up my day at work, and just before leaving, I'm just checking through the news stream and seeing that a sensational headline has people misconstruing a very simple message that I gave at Dual. And I wish to give the message again so that everyone will be very clear as to my message and to not miss the message. I recognize that as a people that we are very resistant to taking responsibility. It's okay when we take responsibility, as in the government or the Tobago House of Assembly, but we are resistant to taking responsibility generally.
And I want him to play clip 5, and then we'll go on.
Okay. Is another clip?
Ask him clip 5.
Clip 5?
If you're ever down this way, don't be shy. We Southern folk love having folks over.
So, 2 clips you just heard. Well, 3 clips. The first one, well, the clips are literally, and I use Farley because it's a voice that we know. The first clip is an American Southern accent, which you heard last, trained on Farley's voice.
Right.
And that's what you heard first. First person just sound like a regular Caribbean person, right? The second clip is my voice, saying things just like Farley says, right? With the same inflection, blah, 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 or whatever. And I use Farley because that's a voice that people know. It's easier to teach with a voice that people know. Again, what I'm saying is there are lots of things that can be done. Yeah? Again, I'm not speaking about any particular clip or anything like that, whatever. I am very passionate about AI education because of, one, what it can do in terms of productivity, but I am also concerned about
Aware
the
of what,
other
that's right,
side
that's right.
of AI. Yeah. So,
And talking about the other side of AI, I know you have 5 steps, 5 specific steps that people can take in the time of AI, so that they won't be deceived or that they won't be confused, and so that they would be aware. And I would like for you to share with our viewers those 5 steps.
so I already spoke about the first one, which is to understand what AI can do. I think that step is pretty obvious. The second step is learn to trust carefully, right? One of the things that I talked about in the AI symposium is the fact that we have always been in a place where we have to find people, professionals who we trust. But I think in the age of AI, trust is becoming even more of a currency. And we're going to have to be able to find people that we trust or who we trust. Yeah. Especially with all this stuff that's going to sort of come down the pipeline. So that's another thing. Learn to trust carefully. Figure out who the people are, who you trust. Then we have develop a pause and verify type of attitude, right? Before you say, this is X or this is Y, pause, slow down. Are you sure, right? One of the other things is familiarizing yourself with what we call tells. If you play poker, or let's use a local thing, all fours.
All fours.
It has certain people, when they had Trump, it has certain ways as they behave, whether they scratch their face or they this or they that. And when they had Trump, right? AI also has these tells, right? Now, I will be the first to admit, the tells, the things that let you know this is AI or whatever, that stuff is slowly going away, right? That stuff is slowly going away. Just understand that whatever I played today is the worst you will ever hear AI,
version,
because
right.
it's only going to get
Improve from
better
there. That's right.
and better and better, right? So familiarize yourself with the tells, such as they are. The last thing is to sort of build a trust network. Have some people in your circle who you go to, whether it be you go to them for politics or you go to them for medical stuff. One of the stories I told at the symposium in the Trust in the Age of AI segment, I told them that before I took the vaccine, I spoke to one of my doctor buddies. He went to Bishop's 2 years, a year after me. And I sat with him for about an hour and a half, before I decided what to take and why not to take X and Y and Z. Because he's somebody that I trust. I'm not saying I made the right decision or wrong decision, but at least I was comfortable with my decision after speaking to somebody I trust. So those are basically, the five steps. And I think they will serve you in good stead.
I believe so as well, especially starting off with understanding.
Yeah.
Understanding, knowing, be in the know. Education wouldn't steer you in the wrong direction at all. Once you have the education, I believe everything else will bounce off from that. And very, very interesting conversation this morning. Get in the know, because we listened to the clips this morning, we heard the audio, and we kind of saw what AI can do. And as Jason said, that would be the worst. Meaning that the detection would reduce, the detection levels will reduce as AI continues to progress and as people become more aware of what AI is, what it can do. So, earlier when you played the first clip, I said, I could detect that was AI. A time would come when a clip similar to that might play and I'll be like, I'm not sure. I'm really, really not sure.
You're
because
special
the detection.
because we played that clip in the symposium and most people there couldn't tell. But you see, I led up to this.
Right.
I didn't lead up to this in the symposium.
Right,
I just played it so people were caught off guard. You sit down there listening with your ears cocked,
the trained air. But thank you so much, of course, Jason, for coming on
welcome.
this morning and bringing that measure of information to us. And of course, prompting persons to get in the know, to be a part of what is happening. And we look forward to the caravan and continued educational symposium where AI is concerned. And we do hope that Tobago will get on board, because sometimes we get left behind. And I really do hope that we jump on board right now for the opportunity that is ahead of us, and don't be left behind, because the opportunities that can come from AI might be endless and you want to be a part of it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we go for a short break, there is an announcement I must make for you. As you are aware, Fashion Quarter 7 was due to take place this weekend on the 18th of April. However, unfortunately, the event has to be postponed, and postponement has come to the event. A new date will be given in a subsequent announcement, but be advised that the DG Events has postponed the Tobago Fashion Quarter 7, and a new date will be given in a subsequent announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for staying with us up till now. We have to go for a short break before we continue conversations right here in studio. And as we go, we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.